Have you ever wondered if turmeric can help your rheumatoid arthritis? Hello, my successful and healthy earthlings. Mihaela Ragushia, naturopath and fan of the Natural Health podcast. In today's episode, I'm going to answer exactly that question. Is turmeric good for your rheumatoid arthritis? And if so, how much and how? That's right. And at the end of this episode, I'm also going to give you an opportunity to join our health and success-oriented community by joining the newsletter below. Welcome to the Natural Health Podcast. We bring awareness to sustainable health in the business hustle space. Natural Health Podcast is perfect for the high-performing business-minded individuals who want to work with their biochemistry to achieve success and optimal health. It's Wednesday, which means it's time for What Would I Do? In today's episode of Natural Health Podcast, we discuss this week's questions. All questions are kept confidential and I read them and answer them as if it was me. Hence why it's called What Would I Do? The information provided is not to be taken as advice and is solely for information purposes only. I'm not here to cure, treat, or provide medical advice. I'm here to educate and inform you so you're able to take steps towards optimal health. Please discuss any medical issues with your healthcare professional. Let's get into today's question. Today's question is an interesting one. It's about rheumatoid arthritis, right? The question is I have RA, rheumatoid arthritis, and have been told to take turmeric. I was wondering, is there any scientific evidence it helps and how much to take and how long for? What an absolutely great question. And rheumatoid arthritis is definitely something that, it's not the nicest thing to have. And I know it's kind of hard to say that what I'm coming across with because there's pain involved, but there's also physical appearance involved because most individuals who have rheumatoid arthritis, you look at their hands and they usually don't look like their hands that they used to look like when they were younger, right? So this is where it's not only an emotional, it's also a physical and a mental disorder in my eyes. So look, essentially, let's go through what is rheumatoid arthritis. For any of you who don't know, rheumatoid arthritis is a systemic autoimmune disease categorized as inflammation in the joints. So essentially all these fancy words, but I'm not going to bother saying them because there's no point. It's just essentially what that means is it's inflammation in your joints, right? In your hands and feet. It's chronic progressive disease that is, if left untreated, may lead to cartilage and bone erosions, which means they get misplaced, and joint destruction, resulting in functional impairment. So therefore you can't pick up a glass anymore. You can't write anymore because usually people's hands are like together like that and they're disformed in a way. Rheumatoid arthritis is categorized by infiltration of lymphocytes, plasma cells, dendritic cells, and macrophages of the synovial membrane that affects joints, for any of you who want to know the technical terms. What actually happens is, like I said to you, rheumatoid arthritis is not just this that you see individuals with their hands, the physical stuff. It's also a lot more emotional and mental things. So essentially fatigue is prevalent in these individuals. 40 to 70% of rheumatoid arthritis patients have fatigue. In addition to that, they also have deformities in their thumbs, in their fingers, in their maybe neck, or even in their feet, and hypertension and so forth. They also have inflammation involved in there, also joint damage involving wrist, elbows, shoulders, hips, knees, which can also lead to severe osteoarthritis and things. And also even some people need replacements like a hip replacement, a knee replacement, wrist and things like that. I don't even know if there's such thing as a wrist replacement. I don't even know why I said that, but anyway, so the thing is now let's talk about the turmeric, right? How is turmeric connected to that? And I'm going to spend a little bit more time on this than I usually do, but I thought I'd put it in there for you. So essentially, now that you know what rheumatoid arthritis is, turmeric itself isn't what inhibits inflammation. I want to get that straight right there, right now. Turmeric isn't what inhibits inflammation. It's actually curcumin. Okay, boom. It's curcumin, the active chemical in turmeric. And that is what has actually piqued researchers' interest. And this is what researchers are interested in. They're interested in researching curcumin. Curcumin blocks certain enzymes and cytokines that lead to inflammation. This sheds light on the possibility of curcumin as a contemplated treatment for rheumatoid arthritis. There was a small study done in 2012, and you asked for scientific, so I thought I'll give that to you. Of 45 people with rheumatoid arthritis, research assigned curcumin supplements to 1/3 of them, and the other two groups received a non-steroid anti-inflammatory drug. Or a combination of both. The group that took 500 milligrams of curcumin only showed the most improvements while promising more and larger trials are needed. So essentially, this is awesome, showing science, but more trials are needed. This is what's saying. Because turmeric is in natural form, is considered safe. The supplements can be a good additional to your diet. Curcumin has benefits for inflammation, disease, depression, cancer. These conditions are all common for individuals who have rheumatoid arthritis. I can talk sciencey if you want me to, and I can go into okay, you wanted sciencey, so I'm going to give you a little bit of sciencey. So here you go. Curcumin has broad anti-inflammatory effects, decreasing many inflammatory markers, including phospholipids, lipooxygenase, which is LOX, and also COX-2, LTS, PGS, NO, collagenesis, electase, interferon-inducible protein, TNF-alpha, and also IL-12. So these are all things that cause inflammation essentially, and curcumin has been proven to be anti-inflammatory against these and decrease these markers that cause inflammation. So there you have it. So some questions that I would ask myself that you can ask yourself are, when did my RA start? What happened around this time? Was there a tragic event? Did you lose your job? Did you lose your partner? Did you lose finances? Did you lose yourself? There's so many things you can ask yourself. The other thing also considered is there a current or past infection? Did you have any past infections? Or do you know a current infection that you may have? What are your current stress levels like, or what were your stress levels like when you got RA or diagnosed with RA, or when the onset was? What is your sleep like, or what was your sleep like when it kicked in? What's your omega-3 status? Have you had that tested recently? What's your gut profile like? What's your food intake like? What are your environmental triggers? What are your overall triggers? Do you have a high intake of sugar, sodium, red meat, and iron? Because these all impact RA. What are your genetics like? Has anyone in your family got this or anything similar, or any other autoimmune disease? Do you have another autoimmune disease? Because individuals who have already one in the autoimmune disease are more likely to have more autoimmune diseases. Do you drink alcohol? Do you smoke? Do you exercise? Do you take any other medications? Do you take any supplements for it? Where do you live, or where did you live? Have you been exposed to toxins? The list goes on and on and on, right? But I'm keeping it short here. I'm going to go into what I would do, right? So what would I do in regards to turmeric curcumin? Yes, there is evidence it helps, 100%. There's scientific evidence. I would talk to my healthcare professional, if that is a naturopath, if that is a GP, if that is a complementary practitioner, whoever that is, in a sense that knows this information and can provide you with evidence-based information, what you're looking for, on how much to take and how long for. Make sure that they are monitoring you also. For the dosage, Arthritis Foundation actually recommends 500 milligrams twice a day, but always talk to your doctor. That's what they've got there. It says here also taking up to 12 grams, which is 12,000 mgs, of curcumin daily is likely safe, according to November 2015 review in Critical Reviews in Food Science and Nutrition. They said the dosage used in research studies is usually lower than 12 grams, which suggests you may see benefits at a lower dose. For example, a review published in August 2016 in the Journal of Medicine Food reveals that a dosage range from 100 to 2,000 mgs per day, with doses typically taken 500 mgs at a time. So there's research showing that also. But this is something to look into, figuring out how much to take, how much is right for you, but also tracking it, that you see results, right? And then getting a good review of where you are now, even pictures, notes, analyzing it, where you are after you take a certain dosage and where you want to be, and follow it through months and months and months, because you might hit a dosage and you see amazing results, and then you have to keep that dosage up for a certain amount of time. Okay. So in regards to what else I would do is my diet. I need to look at my diet. Yes, okay, you can supplement whatever and however you want. It will reduce inflammation. But if you're causing inflammation with your diet, is it worth it? Is it actually doing something? Could be argued, right? So high intakes of sugar, sodium, red meats, protein, and iron have been associated with rheumatoid arthritis development. Therefore, patients are recommended consume these foods in a small portion, right? So these are sugar, sodium, red meats, protein, and iron, and this is what needs to be looked at. So what would I would have more of fish intake if I ate fish, or high omega-3 EFAs, which is going to cause more fatty acids, and it's also going to be decreasing the risk of rheumatoid arthritis, and also it's going to increase my omega-3 levels, right, which I would get tested 100%. I would get a blood test done, see where my markers are, see what my inflammation markers are, and then do a few things which have been recommended to me by a trained professional, and then do a blood test again and see if they've dropped and how much they've dropped. If I'm smoking, I would stop smoking. If I'm drinking, I would stop drinking. If I'm not sleeping well, I would start sleeping well. If I'm not exercising, I would start exercising. I need to ensure that that exercise is from a professional trainer and incorporate that in. So there you have it, all of this information just for you in regards to rheumatoid arthritis and curcumin. Do what you do best. Love, like, share the Natural Health Podcast. And if you want to join our health and success oriented community, remember to join the newsletter by clicking below. There you have it. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me at mahela.raguse at Instagram, and I'll hopefully be able to answer your question on the Natural Health Podcast. Remember, the missing link between failure and success is your health. Content and information provided here is opinion of Mahela Raguse and is for information purposes only and does not constitute medical advice. It is not intended to provide medical advice or take the place of medical advice or any current treatment you're undertaking. Consult your own medical professionals for any medical issues that you may be having. This entire disclaimer also applies to any guests or contributors to the Natural Health Podcast. It is advised that you consult your doctor or healthcare professional in relation to any health concerns you may be having. Mahela Raguse does not take responsibility for any health consequences which occur from a person listening, viewing, or reading this content. And in no circumstances shall the Natural Health Podcast, Mahela Raguse, any guests or contributors to the Natural Health Podcast, or any employees, associates, or affiliates of Mahela Raguse be responsible for damages arising from the information provided on the Natural Health Podcast. By listening to this podcast, you agree not to use this podcast as medical advice to treat any medical conditions in either yourself or others. Please note, if you're taking prescription, do not stop your medication or start a new protocol, including but not limited to supplements, diet, lifestyle changes without consulting your doctor or healthcare professional. If you or any person has a medical concern, you should consult with your healthcare provider or seek other professional medical advice. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something that you have read or heard on the Natural Health Podcast or in any linked materials. If you think you may have a medical emergency, call your doctor or emergency services immediately. Neither Mahela Raguse nor the publisher of this content takes responsibility for the possible health consequences of any person or persons reading or listening or following the information in educational content.